have a very, very special guest on this episode of Millionaire Brand Creation, my friend Buck Wise. Buck is a seasoned entrepreneur with expertise in personal branding, marketing strategy, content creation, profit growth for leaders all around the world. And you probably have heard some of these names: Starbucks, Nike, Sirhan, for all you realtors looking in, Google, EXP, and the name goes on. So without further ado, love to introduce you my friend Buck. How are you doing, buddy?
Michael, I got to meet this guy. Wow, he sounds interesting.
Sounds really exceptional. And I want to get to know what is going on in the mind of this branding genius. So take us back when you were a
Yeah.
child. What kind of got you into that entrepreneurial drive? What got you going?
You know what? If we go that far back, let me dust the cobwebs off in my brain. The truth is, I'm a middle child. So what started the whole venture for me was, always wanting to get the attention. You had the older sister and the younger sister. And I was like, man, I need a stage. I need to be heard. And so my career really started on a creative track. And I got into radio. I started working for iHeartRadio. I worked directly with Ryan Seacrest in Los Angeles at iHeart. And this was well before I started my first agency. But what I was doing was kind of cutting my teeth at content creation, which is really the end of the journey when you talk about marketing. It really is data first, then strategy, then creation. But when you're young or you're a new entrepreneur or you're just starting a business, usually that's where everybody starts. Somebody listening to your awesome podcast right now, I'm sure, they were like, I need to start a podcast, which is creative, right? They weren't thinking, who's the consumer? What does my brand stand for? What's the competitive differentiator? What are the attributes and how do I want my consumer to feel? No, because nobody teaches you that. So that's why when I started, it was all creative for me. I was a kid and I was like, I want to be heard and I want to make people laugh. I want to drive an emotion.
Well, it's so true. I mean, because you have an innate ability to communicate. I know that probably came from your radio past, as well as your ability to take out a phone and actually cultivate something that matters to the
True,
audience. And
true.
that's kind of what I want to talk about, because I know
Yeah.
you're the best at this. For those entrepreneurs and real estate agents or anyone in the space looking in the looking glass and they want to,
Mhm.
open up your brain,
Sure.
what are some of the things that you can relay to them that you learn from some of the best? And I'll start this off
Yeah.
with Cardone, because obviously we know he moves fast. What did you
Mhm.
learn being the CMO of Cardone Enterprises?
Yeah, that's a really good question. First of all, if you want to learn more, you got to get next to people who are doing more than you've done, which is why you're listening to Michael's podcast right now, because he's done a lot and he connects with people who've done a lot. So that's you're already winning if you're listening to your podcast because you have your own success. You have your own model, your own blueprint, and you share tidbits of education and information constantly. So learn from others who've done more than you. I'm telling you, people ask me that dumb question, Michael. I know you wouldn't ask this, but people say, if you could do it all over again, what would you do better? Dude, learn from people who've done it bigger than you. Too many times I think we get trapped in our little circle of like, what's everybody else doing? And nobody's doing anything, but you're taking freaking advice from grandma and everybody else, right? So like that is the thing I wish I'd done. I think the first piece of information I could give, this wasn't from Cardone specifically. I'll tell you what I did learn when I worked at the Cardone Enterprises. But the first thing I really think is valuable for people is there's nothing more important. Whatever anybody's teaching you, whatever technical tactic, any sort of execution somebody's giving you, nothing's more important than your personal brand. You own your personal brand. Once you have equity in it, it carries with you no matter what you do. You can start a business, fail a business, create another business, and your personal brand is your equity. It is the one thing no one takes from you. And it's the one thing you can use and leverage to build again and build faster. I get CEOs, Michael, that have built $1 million companies. Buck, I already built $1 million company. Nobody knows who I am on Instagram. Why would I need to get online? And I say, would you like to build it again or are you retired? You're 38 years old. You're 44 years old. You're done. That's it. You built $1 million company. By the way, a million's not a lot of money, but you know what I mean? Like you've built one company and exited. You have a little bit of you're comfortable, but like, do you want to build it again? Yes. Do you want to build it as long as it took you to build the first one? Or do you want to build it twice as fast? Because really what personal brand is your ability to connect with more people and create trust faster. And so the more you're out there, it's easier for Michael. He has a podcast. People see him, they hear him. He has credibility. You can listen to him. You can trust him. You're a master connector. I know that, Michael, but he's able to move through business quicker because he has this established brand that he's building. Now there's levels to brand, and so let's go to your question. Grant Cardone, he's got one of the biggest personal brands and he leverages it for billions of dollars in multifamily real estate. I think what I learned most was two things. One, wasn't even business at all. Working for the world's largest agency group, WPP, big brands, Starbucks, Nike, Google, you definitely learn how to drive a big multi-million-dollar P&L, how to take a big ship and steer it slowly through your campaigns. But what nobody teaches you, and if you didn't get raised in a house like this, nobody talks about accountability. Nobody talks about taking action at a speed so fast that it makes others' goals look small in comparison. It's honestly, I learned more about mindset from Grant than I did business. I had a lot of corporate business experience and I thought I knew everything. And Grant will tell you very quickly, you don't know enough. His answer to me was always funny. I'd say, hey, we should change this color on the landing page. It doesn't sync with the ad. You need consistency from the ad to the landing page. It's very different. Buck, do you have a jet? No, Grant, I do not have a jet. When you get a jet, you can tell me how to change colors. That's what he would always say to me, So, okay, fair point. I don't have a jet, so we'll go with, he's doing 400 million in revenue from his enterprises. Like, I can't argue that. He's got his own system. Is his system the only system? No, it's his system and it works. Starbucks has its system and Howard Schultz knows it works, right? Very different culture, different philosophies, different type of business. The beauty of what Cardone has done is revenue like a big business with the appetite and structure of a startup. I think that's the biggest thing I learned is driving hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and moving at the speed of startup is an unbelievable integral balance that Grant drives. And that's what 10X stands for. When you hear Grant Cardone talk about 10X, is he 10X is everything from the goal to how fast you move, speed to market. He 10X is, people's belief in themselves, their ability to do what they're doing. Ultimately he's a sales master. So from was sales and marketing, but sales technique, understanding the psychology of the consumer, which is marketing, but sales and marketing is very blended. Everybody always asks sales or market. It's like, there's a lot of blend. They're both essentially acquiring trust. Marketing is the ability to attract the attention and the awareness. The sales is the process you take someone through to convert them into the business and then retain them. And they both work hand in hand. But his process of understanding how to close a deal, night and day for my life. My agency, Closing Day Agency, that helps a lot of real estate agents. And you mentioned Ryan Serhant's team and EXP. We've worked with Glenn Sanford often. My wife, by the way, full disclosure, is an EXP agent, and I obviously work with her and help her. But Closing Day Agency, my agent, this is my third agency I've built now, would not be what it is had I not worked with Grant. Guaranteed. I knew systems, I knew, user journeys, I understood brand, I understood content creation. But dude, Grant's content creation is like on steroids. It's rocket ship content creation. It's third largest business influencer on YouTube, massive reality TV star. He is a promotion machine. And I think what he taught me was so I'll give you another nugget for anyone listening. Progress over perfection. He doesn't say it that way. He says it this way, but everybody knows progress. Don't try to perfect it. Just get it done. He says this: better known is better than best. Yeah. It's better known, not best, which means just get out there. Quit worrying about how perfect the product is and just get out there.
Success loves speed. You know what I mean? Success loves speed, and you have to fail fast and learn fast, but you got to keep going. And the bridge, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs finally grasp, is the solopreneur thinks they can do it themselves.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to do this myself. I'm the best at this. And then you fail and you play small. And then you realize the riches not only are in the niches, but they're in people, right? The larger your organization, the larger your reach, the larger the people that know your name, the more income comes in just through osmosis. And as
So
long as
true.
you're leveling up with more and more people and their network becomes your network, it's
That's
almost
right.
an exponential hockey puck. Can you explain that a little bit to the audience?
Yeah, sure. I mean, understanding that it takes people to create momentum and success is going to be the biggest key. A lot of times, an entrepreneur, solopreneur, like you mentioned, will come to me and they're so transactional and technical in nature. They're like, Buck, you're a marketer. You're the world's best marketer. But I'm not, by the way. And I hate when people say that. I'm a data marketer, which means I'm all driven from historical, what worked, and currently what's working. And so I tie my experience in with what's actually happening. And that's what kind of marketer I am. Yes, I have lots of experience, but I'm all about the data. I study the data. So I go into every new campaign I go into as if I know nothing. I'm an inquisitive mind. I constantly want to learn and grow. I'm not one of those guys that's like, I've got the perfect marketing strategy. But this would be the best way to summarize it. If you're looking at marketing saying, I'm going to get new leads and drive new revenue through marketing, I want you to erase that from your mind. And I want you to think, I'm going to connect with amazing, talented people that are going to join my organization. I'm going to connect with vendors that have technology that's going to allow me to catapult. I'm going to connect with like-minded entrepreneurs through my marketing efforts, like Michael and his podcast. And I'm going to DM him on Instagram, and I'm going to network with him to tap into new audiences so that I can make new connections that might end up being a new customer, but it might end up being an employee, or it might. Here's the best one. I call this productive paranoia. Think about it this way. Every day you aren't marketing, every day you aren't creating, AKA every day you're not connecting. Right now, Michael and I are connecting. Had I not connected, let's give this example. If this was you, if you were me and you decided not to connect with Michael today, but however, when he shares this on his social channels, there was one dude, one woman that listened that day who ended up acquiring my agency for $22 million. But had I not created on that day, on that podcast with that audience, that woman would have never heard it. That man would have never heard it. And my agency would never be acquired. Now, how transactional in nature is it if I was like, I got to get on Michael's podcast so I can get new clients for my agency? You're thinking too small when you think about marketing as a new client contact. It's a contact sport where you're just trying to connect with as many people as possible. And I know Michael knows this. The name of the game is value. Give, give, give. If you're an old Gary Vee fan, that's that punch, punch, jab. That's that you can't take until you give. And you got to do twice as much giving before you take. So that's been, I've been on the path of giving for 2-3 years now, where I really haven't had to pull from the take, because organically and naturally, I'm giving so much in the right circles that I don't have to ask. It just connects naturally. My clients organically, I have no like funnel. Hey, we'll get you results in 20 days or less. Or, I'm not running marketing funnels. People listen to me and they go, oh shit, this guy knows something. I should probably have him help my business. And then we have just a simple conversation, and I present to them the strategy of how we connect and create. And then they're like, yeah, let's go. And then I'm in it for the long term. I'm in it for long-term partnerships, not to just get somebody success overnight. I'm in it to like grow a business. A lot of people ask me, Michael, you didn't ask me this, but I like to share it. People go, Buck, what's your end goal? My end goal actually is not to sell the agency to the person listening for 22 million. The agency for me is a vehicle to build other businesses. I've created 2 new business entities in the last 2 years, separate from the agency, that I helped grow and start, that now cash flow me. So I don't have to do those businesses every day. In fact, I just continue to work on the agency and look for the next business to create. And I did that through partnerships. One of the businesses wasn't even a client. It was someone I met through a client. And we were like, hey, let's start a business,
Ed Milet, I think, does this great. He
Yeah.
really leads with reciprocity, and he knows
Yes.
the more he gives and the best content that he gives, the more he becomes the most followed podcast on the planet, and
So
people want
true.
to deal with it. And it's so accurate. It's interesting, and maybe you can touch upon this. So many people that I know aren't getting the financial results that they want. They're
Right.
leading their brand with their job, right? If you ever
Yeah.
read my book, especially in relationships, The first question a stranger asks someone is what?
The setting, usually it's where are you from?
What do you do? What do you
What do
do?
you do?
Right?
Where are you from?
Yeah,
Yeah.
where are you from? And what they're trying to ask you is, why should I know you? Why are you
Yeah.
worth my time? Why should
Yeah.
I add you to my network? And so
Yeah.
many people frivolously think, oh, I'm a real estate agent. I am a marketer. No, that's not your brand. You are Buck Wise. I am Michael Banovac. That is our brand box. That is our tree. The
Right.
branches are you're in real estate, you're in marketing, you have a podcast, you have this,
Mhm.
you have passive income, you're a real estate owner, whatever it is, right? And so many people, I think, fail to cultivate their own brand to where it disseminates larger than themselves. Can you
So
touch
true.
upon how people can do that in their own lives based on what you've learned in so many of these great businesses?
Yeah, when you're building, that's so eloquently put, by the way, Michael. I've never heard it put that way about the branches of their personal brand. It's so true, though. The question is, what are the roots of your tree and your personal brand? Like, what is it that grounds you and creates the center, the core of who you are and what you're made of? In marketing, remember this: perception is reality. Meaning that,
Preach.
yeah, what so like you could be whatever you think you are, but number one, well, Buck, I have no perception because I don't promote online. Guess what? You do. The perception is you're dead. The perception is you don't do business. The perception is you're closed, you're bankrupt. That's the perception. No, well, I don't promote, so I don't have a perception online. Yeah, you do. So then here's a hard question I'm going to ask everyone watching or listening to this right now. Who's in control of your personal brand? Because if it's not you, then it's the perception of the general public.
Mm.
So the best way to take control of that is to get organized, understand who you are. The best way to do that is to think about who you're attracting, think about who you're targeting, and ask yourself this question: why do I exist for them? Everybody says I have core values, right? Core values are for you. I'm going to Mars in the next 5 years. That's a core value. But a brand sentiment, a brand statement, a brand purpose, a brand why is why do you exist? Your brand exists for them. What's in it for them? Once you can figure out that they're selfish and they want to know what's in it for them,
Right.
then you can clearly define what it is you exist for. And it isn't because you're a real estate agent. I always say this too, Michael. They're so transactional when they create content. If you're looking to buy, if you're looking to sell, if you're looking to invest, wide net, right? If you're looking to do anything, I just need money. Just help me. DM
Exactly.
me. I'll do anything, please. This is what you sound like when you get if you're looking to buy, you're looking to sell, you need to invest. It's like desperate. Help me. I need money. How about this? The hardest part of a divorce is mediating the sale of your house. And what I'm here to do is to keep peace in your divorce. And so that not only you can make the most money so that it's total ROI on the home, but you can do it in a way, because I've experienced with it, you can do it in a way where you are, you have sound and peace environment as you go through a process that I've created that helps so many divorced couples that live right within your zip code do the exact same thing. I have years of experience and over 232 homes sold just in your zip code alone. See what I did? Transformational relationship. Like, why do you exist? You don't exist to sell homes. You exist to keep peace. You exist to help somebody through a transition and a phase of their life. You exist to educate somebody that's never bought a home in their life. You're not there to sell them the home. You're there to educate them and make them comfortable because they need somebody they can trust. They've never done it. They have no idea. They're blind, right? So I think it's really getting down to the why, the core why. And then the branches, to Michael's point, go from there.
Well, it's funny. The last guest we had on, I saw in your stories today, you were watching The Bachelor. So the 2022 Bachelor, Clayton Echard's a friend of mine.
That's right. Yes.
We were talking about this, and I think it ties in perfectly. The biggest mistakes people make is they believe wealth and fame will bring them purpose and happiness. And taking it from a guy that has done it, right, who played for the NFL, that was on one of the largest TV shows on the planet.
Yeah.
He crashed and burned, and he will admit that because he didn't know how to handle 7 million people knowing who he was and then coming down off that high. And it was fascinating because what I realized, having bought the Ferrari, the houses, the watches, the boom, 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 you don't understand that that stuff in itself doesn't bring you happiness. It's the
Right.
journey to acquisition. It's the journey of meeting people. It's the continuum of continually relaying your brand and helping people.
Mm.
How can you touch upon that? And what has that meant to you in your life?
A purpose for me is helping people change their lives.
Love it.
Somebody asked me the other day, they said, I was on Brad Lee's podcast. You know Brad Lee,
I
the
love
real
Bradley.
Brad
Yeah.
Lee. So I was
Yeah.
on his podcast in Vegas not too long, a couple of weeks ago, and he goes, "Man, you've worked for some cool companies, Grant and Starbucks and Nike and Google." And he's like, "What's the coolest campaign?" And everybody wants to hear, because for years I worked on pumpkin spice latte, Nike running, like really cool activations. A Harden campaign, NBA Harden campaign for Adidas one year. But to me, the coolest campaigns I work on is when I took a pizza shop from $250K in San Diego, California to $2.2 million 2 years later. And I watched her cry because she was able to afford to send her kids to college. That's the kind of purpose that's in my life. Forget pumpkin spice latte. Wow. It still makes me emotional today to talk about that story. That's what I enjoy day to day. And that's why I love this agency, Closing Day Agency, where I get to work with people that are literally coming up from scratch and trying to figure out how to make their first million or get to 2 or from 2 to 5. To your point, there's no Lamborghini in the world that's going to make you feel the way you feel when you help others succeed. And I found, interestingly enough, the more you help people succeed, the more you succeed. It's just the momentum.
Now, I know we only got a couple minutes left. So here's one question I always ask to the audience.
Yeah.
You have great children, and I know you're a great family man, a great husband. If you could give them one piece of advice as they go into the world that you've learned on your time on this planet, what would it be and why?
Oh, man, this is such a good question. I've been asked this question a couple times, and it keeps evolving. My best advice used to be, don't work for others, start your own business. But I've gone backwards on it. Work for someone first and waste their money learning, and then go start a business. Too many kids are starting businesses at 21 because you see the one guy doing freaking Bitcoin going, "Oh, drive a Ferrari. Now you should do Bitcoin." Right. And they're all like, "Oh, I'm going to and they join these crazy companies and all these scams. And so everybody's trying to start from scratch. I worked in the corporate space for 25 years. Probably 5 years too long. I wish I'd bailed out earlier. But I think my best advice would be, if you're young, go learn. And if you're not young and you've already worked at other corporations, I would say learn from others who've done more than you. The 3 best questions you can ask someone is, what's the most amount of money you've ever made in a year? How did you do it? And what did you exit for? And nobody can lie on those answers. If you're getting advice from someone that doesn't have an answer to those 3 questions, you're getting bad advice. So
that's Brandon Dawson's.
That's right. That is Brandon Dawson, who is the CEO of Cardone Ventures, and I worked with many years. He that's been the best pressure testing question I could ask anyone, because it just comes down to facts, man. You got a lot of people in the marketing space that say they've done a lot of big things, but they don't have a lot of big answers.
And then the other question I would say too is, if you had to have a quote, if you had to have a summary of what we talked about today in this short time, what's the takeaway? What's the nugget? What's the deal that's like, oh my God, this is going to help change my life once I follow Buck, which where should they, by the way? What's the takeaway?
Yeah. If you knew you couldn't fail, how big would you go and how fast would you get there?
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where can they follow you, buddy? Where can
Oh
they
yeah,
get to know you? Where
Instagram.
can they do your thing?
I tell my mom, she texts me, I don't reply. I say, "Mom, DM me on Instagram." I'm much quicker on Instagram. About Buck, ABOUTBUCK. And if you follow me, I've got a full guide of how to create content in a way that drives more engagement. I'll DM it to you as soon as you follow me. If you ask for it, you got to say, "Hey, I heard you on Michael's podcast," and then I'll DM you the guide, how to create, I call it content to cash, how to create more cash with better content. I'd love to just give it away, more value, absolutely free. You're not getting into a funnel. There's no upsell. I have no program that costs $5,000. It's literally a free book to help you create better content. That's it.
Well, I think we should do this again in a month or two when you get some time, because I think people are going to love this. I mean, it's
Good.
so good, dude. And I think,
Let's do it.
yeah, I love it. I
When do
love
we
it
get
so
to do it
much.
in person? Aren't we just a
Let's do it in
couple
person. I want to see
miles
your hot
away?
office. I saw your office and
Come
all this
on,
cool
man.
looking stuff. Let's do
I
it.
just
Yeah.
opened it up. Let's literally, I'll get an email sent out right after this. I'm going to figure out when you can come by the office, and we'll record here in the studio. I got the screen.
Boom.
We'll put your logo up or whatever you
Love
want.
it. Love it. Hey, man,
Love
thank you
it.
so much for taking the time. Follow About Buck. We'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Michael.